welcome to come in. If some of you want to have a seat, in the seats too. It's up to you all. Okay, I think we will go ahead and get started. This time we have 4:35, and we will call the meeting of the Canyon City Commission to order. With that, Commissioner Ray, would you lead us in the pledge? Or excuse me, in the prayer.
Father, we come before you now. We are grateful for another day in Canyon. We are grateful that you've chosen us to live in this great community. Father, we ask that you will continue to protect our first responders. And Father, with everything that's going on, we ask that you also protect our students in the schools. And Father, you just keep them safe. We're grateful for these girls that are here today, and we just ask that you keep them safe. Father, we're just grateful for them. Father, we also want to lift up Amy Jones, Commissioner Jones' wife, and pray that you will heal her. Father, again, we are grateful that you have allowed us to live in this great community. And we pray.
Make sure I hand over your heart.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, that takes us to the approval of the minutes of the meeting of May 16th, 2022.
Mayor, if there's no changes, I move that we approve those.
Second.
Have a motion second to approve the minutes as written. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. The motion passes. That takes us to item number 5, public comment. Comments from interested citizens. We're supposed to comment?
No.
We will use your opinion here in just a second. Gretchen is messing with you right now. Okay, thank you. All right. That does take us to the presentation, a proclamation for our state champion Canyon Lady Eagle track team. And with that, I do have a proclamation from the City Commission of Canyon. Whereas, on behalf of the City Commission and all the citizens of Canyon, it is with a great deal of pleasure to express to all the members of the Canyon High School Lady Eagles track team our sincere congratulations on your second Class 4A State Track and Field Championship with an amazing 70 points. Whereas, with another exciting and successful season, we are proud of the record you have earned through years of hard work and commitment and the fine publicity you have brought to our community by your inspired team play. And whereas, as quoted by head girls track coach Ray Baca, I'm just so proud of each and every one of them. They all knew they had to get points today. They all knew the mission at hand. I'm just so thrilled at what we accomplished. I can't thank the support system we have. You can see how many people showed up. Canyon is just awesome. Whereas, we are pleased to publicly commend the Canyon Lady Eagles track team, coaches, assistant coaches, and CISD, and to extend this token of affection and admiration with which you are regarded in this city. Now therefore, we, Jerry Henders, Mayor, Cody Jones, Mayor Pro Tem, and Commissioners Kelsey Ward, Paul R. Lyons, and Randy Ray of the City of Canyon, Texas, do hereby proclaim June 2022 as Canyon High School Lady Eagles Class 4A Track and Field State Champions Month. Now, Coach, would you like to make the speech?
Oh, yeah, this is pretty amazing. And I hate to start it off with this, but that's pretty cool. Y'all start off with the prayer and the pledge of allegiance. That's impressive. It's just an honor to represent the city with these girls, because they're just amazing. Not only are they great athletes, they're all great students. All of them are academic all-state track athletes, but they're just really, really good people. And to be able to stand here with them in front of y'all it's truly amazing. I really appreciate it.
Well, congratulations, very well done. Yeah, I think we'd love to have a picture taken with you all and the city commission here too. No, we sure do. Y'all are interested?
You go ahead.
You're the important
Are we all fit?
Yeah. Say cheese.
Hey, don't move so I can grab one. I'll grab that.
Who's that?
Me. Okay. Good job, girl.
Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you.
Good job.
Every meeting starts so well.
You'll do that every meeting.
We're still good. Yep. Yeah, it doesn't feel like they've graduated. All right, we'll go ahead and move forward. And item number 7 is consider and take appropriate action on second and final reading of resolution number 09-2022, resolution of the City Commission of the City of Canyon approving a project funding agreement between Blue Club Canyon LLC and Canyon Economic Development Corporation relating to direct financial assistance and job creation incentives. Clerk?
Well, this will be the final vote ratification of this funding agreement for the Glee Club here in Canyon. They're opening a shop out on 4th Avenue at the intersection of Russell Lawn. They're immediately adjacent to Journey Coffee, across from the First United Bank Center. So I think most of you, or several of you, have met the owner-operators. That was prior to my arrival in town, but I believe we've vetted it well and made everybody jump through all the hoops necessary for their funding request, which will be over a 5-year period.
All right, any other questions for Larry, or this is the second reading? Entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt resolution number 09-2022 as presented.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Item number 8 is to consider and take appropriate action on second and final reading of resolution number 10-2022. Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Canyon approving the project funding agreement between Canyon Main Street and Canyon Economic Development Corporation relating to direct financial assistance to Canyon Main Street for marking the 20th year as the Texas Main Street City.
And this is a ongoing annual request for funding for the Canyon Main Street, and they have a committee which helps the staff in our office to oversee the use of these funds to see that they're appropriately used.
Second reading also on this one.
Mayor, I move that we adopt resolution number 10-2022 as presented.
Second.
Have a motion second. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate it. Okay, item number 9, consider and take appropriate action on request for early purchase of new solid waste truck for fiscal year 2024. Dan? No.
Dan is out today.
Okay.
I'm playing Dan's role today. Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. This is, of course, as a memo states, request to purchase a trash truck, order a trash truck early. As you know, vehicles and equipment have become quite a challenge to procure. Our last side load solid waste truck, that's what this would be, was ordered. We received it in February. It was ordered about 18 months before that, so it took about 18 months for us to get. Currently, these trucks, we've got them on a 10-year service life. So the next truck is due to be replaced in fiscal year 2024. So with that said, this is a request to go ahead and place the order now, so that hopefully we'll get it in that fiscal year. A little bit different here. About 15 years ago, we went to a tandem axle, didn't change the chassis up any, and they're not holding up very well. So this time we're looking at upgrading that a little bit to a Mack truck. Macks are a little bit more durable. They're built more for construction setting. Some of these alleys and the landfill terrain tends to be a little rough for our trucks, so it's hard on them. We've seen an uptick in maintenance and repair costs here lately. Usually by the 7th year, it appears that we're having to repair rear ends in them. So we're trying to get something a little sturdier that might hold up to that 10-year service life. The estimated cost of this one is $270,000. The last one we ordered, we paid $190. It sounds like that would be about $220 now, with inflation and whatnot, current costs. So it's not as big of a jump as it appears to be. But here for any questions if you guys have any. Brendan is also here to help answer.
So just logistically, we would issue a PO for this, and we don't have to make payment until delivery of the truck.
But we lock in the price.
Yes. And that gets them the initiation to go ahead and start to order and put it in the queue. And I can't remember if I think Brennan's talked to them. I mean, the time hasn't got any shorter than the last truck we ordered. So odds are this truck won't have any funding set aside in this upcoming budget. It'll be the subsequent budget after that. So we're going into fiscal year 23. This would more than likely need to be funded in fiscal year 24.
We approve the early ordering and purchase of a side-loading solid waste truck to be delivered in fiscal year 2024 at an approximate cost of $270,000.
Second. Have a motion and second to go ahead and pre-order. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Thank you, sir. Okay, now item number 10 is to consider and take appropriate action on fiscal year 2023 budget commitment for the purchase of 3 marked patrol cars. Chief Wright.
Thank you for having me, letting me speak. So we're asking the same thing Chris is. Basically, we're because of the crisis with the vehicles and the problems that we're having getting vehicles, we're asking for approval to go ahead and purchase our next budget years, our fiscal year 23 vehicles. If we can, we're asking to go ahead and get those ordered for our fiscal year 22 vehicles. Those have been on order since October of 2021, and we're still waiting on those. The last order we got from the Ford dealership that we're dealing with is that those vehicles may be made this month. So we're just simply asking if we can go ahead and get these 3 cars ordered and get in line to get those cars in line. The estimated cost on these vehicles is going to be about about $160,000. For the 3 vehicles, that's about $53,000 each. That's completely outfitted, and the purchase price of the vehicle, the equipment that goes in the vehicle, and the upfitting labor on that. We have kind of done a little more research. Once this agenda item was posted, we're thinking that the cost of those vehicles may lean a little closer to $185,000 versus the $160,000. Probably going to need a little wiggle room in there because things just. That's all I got. Don't have questions.
I think we need to go back to the department move forward with the commitment to purchase these vehicles for fiscal year 2023.
Steve, remind me, are you doing Axon and in-car cameras now?
Yes, sir. We have 3 cameras on hand that are supposed to go into this year's vehicles, and we have included in our fiscal year 23 budget for 3 more cameras. As we buy new cars, we're trading out the old cameras and going to Axon cameras. Yes, sir.
Joe spent all this money. I think we're counting on you that all is going to work. You know.
No pressure. But all the pressure.
I just want these vehicles that we've already paid for to come in. I know the trash truck, we bought the trash truck right when I started, and it just got in February. That's pretty pathetic in my mind. But that's the nature of the market right now. So we still haven't barely even heard on Steve's 3 patrol cars we ordered. So.
I don't know if there's a second, Commissioner Ray.
Yeah.
So much.
I'll second.
Have a motion and second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. Those like sign. Okay, that's.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You.
I'm item 11 if it's okay.
Do what?
I'm item 11 if it's
Sit
okay.
down and then get back up.
I have to squeeze into the chair. It's a lot of work.
All right. Well, item number 11 is consider and take appropriate action on resolution number 11-2022, the resolution of the City Commission of the City of Canyon, Texas, prescribing limitations on parking for standing motor vehicles or trailers during parade to be held July 4, 2022.
Thank you, sir. So this is our annual 4th of July celebration. It'll be held actually on the 4th of July this year. We're just asking for a resolution that will enact the ordinance that will allow us to close the street. We're doing this to get our paperwork ready so that we can forward to TxDOT and get all our authorizations together from you and TxDOT so that we can get all that locked down for the parade.
I move that we approve resolution number 11-2022.
Okay, have a motion second. All in favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, item number 12, consider and take appropriate action on resolution number 12-2022, resolution of the City Commission of the City of Canyon, Texas, granting exclusive management rights to the Kenyon Chamber of Commerce over the downtown square, Connor Park, and other areas in and around these areas during the annual 4th of July celebration, July 4th, 2022. Gretchen?
Well, in conjunction with the parade parking, we started giving the chamber rights over the Connor Park area and the downtown square because people were bringing in their own bounce houses, their own vendors, selling things, and it just created a lot of chaos. So we started giving them management rights to make sure that things were smooth and enjoyable for the public. And we just adopted this resolution so they have teeth when they tell people they have to remove their balloon or whatever.
Okay.
I ask for approval.
Whatever Gretchen wants, she gets.
There you go. Is that a motion?
Yes, I move that we approve.
I don't even think I need a second on that one.
Second.
If you need.
You have a motion, second. All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Okay, that takes us to item number 13, consider and take appropriate action on March 31st, 2022, financial report by Finance Director Joe Wright.
Thank you, Mayor. So today I want to present the March 31 financial statement to you. This is halfway through the year, so it kind of gives us a good idea of where we're at as we make progress through the year. First of all, the governmental balance sheet, which gives all the governmental funds, which is the general fund, the CIP, capital projects fund for the general, and then also the debt service fund. Total assets for the general fund were $6.4 million. $1.5 million of that was cash. Total unassigned fund balance at this point in time was $5.5 million in the general fund, and $581,000 in the CIP capital projects, and $361,000 for the debt service fund. As of March 31, in the general fund for the revenues and expenses, we collected $3.3 million in property taxes, which is over 100% of the tax roll at that point in time. Sales tax was at $1.6 million, and as usual, I've given you a month-by-month schedule on the sales tax that's behind that, so you can keep an eye on that and see where we're at. We're steadily increasing the sales tax, so that's good.
Another 9 to 10% compared to last year.
And there'll be a sharp increase. We'll see this next presentation, but there will be a sharp increase in April, and we're still kind of looking at that, trying to figure out exactly why. We don't say exactly who it is, but that is going to be a kind of an anomaly when we get to April. Total revenues just under $7.4 million. Total expenditures in the general fund at this point in time was $6.1 million. We're within budget on most items. Some things it's hard to track just by an even distribution because we'll be incurring some large expenses in the summer, particularly on the streets line item. We'll have the seal coating project, and culture and recreation. We incur a lot of that during the summer months, so that looks to be a lot farther within budget than what it really is. We'd also made some debt payments at this point in time, so debt service $200,000, and then also some capital outlay purchases at this point in time of $230,000. So overall, we have a net loss at this point. I'm sorry, net increase of $779,000, which gives the ending fund balance of $5.8 million. Moving on to the CIP projects, I just wanted you to see this. This is a new financial statement that we're including here as we begin transferring cash over to those CIP funds, and then we'll eventually be spending money on projects so that you can see that. At this point in time, we just have that $581,000 transferred over there. So that's the CIP general. And then behind that is the scheduled revenues for that. We really haven't incurred anything yet. We have the one budgeted item, which is the $135,000 for the fire department burn house, which so far we haven't been successful in getting anybody to bid. But we're continuing to work on that. Debt service fund, we have $363,000 in cash there. We have made the February 15th debt service payment. This again is the bonds on the cap for constructing the cap 2016. We paid that debt service payment on February 15th. So we have a net increase of $35,000 and ending fund balance of $361,000 in the debt service fund. We'll have the one more interest payment here in August, but otherwise that's all the activity in the debt service fund. Moving on to the water and sewer fund balance sheet, we have a little over $2 million in cash, $3.6 million in total current assets. Do two other funds of $1.6 million, and most of that's due to the general fund at this point in time. I'll explain that a little bit more with the cash schedule. Notes payable, I want to point that out, $1.2 million, and then also certificates of obligation of $12 million. This will be after we did the bond issuances in December for the refinancing of the 2012 and 2013 issues, but also the issuance of the bonds to purchase the land out northwest of the town. Overall, we had a increase in net position of unrestricted net position of just under 1.8 million due to the increase in so total net position of 41 million, which includes investment and capital assets. Now the changes in net position, revenues and expenses in the utility fund. Water sales of 2.8 million. Total revenues of 4.2 million. And again, at this point in time of the year, we're averaging about 875,000 total monthly billings for utility, of which 452,000 is water. Just to kind of give you an idea of how that increases, the June 1st billing that we just sent out was actually over 1 million. And the water part of that, 596 million. So we'll expect quite a bit larger billings through the rest of the fiscal year.
596,000?
Yes, 596,000.
It was a massive $596 million.
No, sorry. Just over 1 million in total budget, or in total billing, and 596,000 of water. No, our water rates aren't quite that high. Some people think they are, but
financial statements we might have to review our policy.
Total operating expenses of 3.3 million. So operating income of 861,000. However, we've also have serviced the debt at this point in time in February, so that was a $1.3 million payout. So we actually have a loss as of March 31 in the utility fund of just under 463,000. And that debt payment consists of just over $1 million for the 2012 and 2013 issues. We also paid $166,000 on the AMR loan. So that's what makes up that 1.3 million of debt service payments. Any questions on the utility fund? Golf fund at this point, they're just existing. Their busy time was just getting started about this point. So the cash was pretty low, 32,000. They actually had a loss at one point in time of 575,000.
We'll say we had a record May.
Yeah, Ray, it does come back, and they've been very busy. In fact, Casey shared with us at the department head meetings that they have, I believe, broken records for May as far as number of rounds. Likewise, for the enterprise funds, we have new CIP funds set up. That's what follows there. The balance sheet, $2.9 million for the utility fund and $18,000, just under $19,000 for golf. And just to remind you, we set up that new fee back in January, and so that's what this $19,000 was specifically for golf improvement projects. And that's up to about $40,000 as of right now. So I wanted you to see that, even though it's not real significant. Similarly, we haven't incurred a lot of expenses yet in those CIP funds, but as those projects get going, you'll start seeing those expenses show up there. As far as the financial report, that's all I've got for the presentation. Unless you have some specific questions, I'll try to answer. If not, we'll present those for approval.
I move that we approve the financial report for the city of Keenan as of March 31st, 2022.
Second. Have a motion second to approve the financial report as of March 31st, 2022. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Passes. Okay. Item number 14, to consider and take appropriate action on March 31st, 2022 investment report by Finance Director Joel Wright.
The investment report has two components to it: the cash and cash equivalents, and also our targeted reserve report, and then also the schedule of secured deposits. So I'll cover that first report first. This is our actual book balance of cash as of March 31, and at the bottom of the second page, it compares this to our policy for reserve, fund balance and reserve. As you see there, we're below our target range at this point. I want to remind you that we've already passed the high point in the general fund for collections, because we've collected all of the property taxes pretty much. From here on out, the general fund will just be using cash and getting supplemented from the utility fund. So we're just below the target range. The utility fund is still above that target range, but it does owe the general fund quite a bit of cash. And so really, at this point in time, the key number here is the total reserve, which is the $4.8 million, and that's slightly below the minimum target. As we move on into these months, as I was just mentioning, where we start having higher utility billing, we'll start to see the utility to cash come up some. So we hope that'll keep that within that range. And I'll show you a little bit later here when we present this renewal or review of our fund balance and reserve policy, where we stand as of May 31. But March 31 is probably about our lowest point of cash during the fiscal year. So that's why we're below on that. We do also go ahead and present there what the cash is in the general and enterprise CIP funds, and also the debt service fund, even though we don't have minimum reserves on those. Do you have any questions on that particular report?
Just thinking for us to increase that reserve, I guess you could actually allocate for that in the budget, or else if we're just conservative on our income projections, that also would increase it on a fiscal year too.
Well, the reserve, the range that we're trying to hit is it's in a range of 15 to 35% of budgeted expenditures. So really, it's just depending on how the cash is flowing during the year. This is total expenditures for the year is what we're calculating that reserve.
But if I wanted to increase, to try to make sure we are increasing it over time,
We need to just cut progress.
And it's actual cash balance.
Yes. Yeah, this is cash on hand.
I'm just thinking if we were conservative in our estimates on income, we're gonna have more income coming in and more cash through the year.
It's really just timing. I mean, this happens to be the lowest point of the year because of service, the debt. Most of our debt service happens in February, March. So it is just a low point. We're not having the higher billings for utility billings. So if we get past March, and we're still at the low end, close to that reserve policy, I feel pretty good about it. If we're that low at the end of May, then I'm going to be a lot more nervous. But we're still in good shape. Especially when I show you May, you're going to see May here in a minute, and it recovers quite a bit of the end of May.
Well, we track this through our quarterly financial reports. True measurement, and it's in the policy, is end of the fiscal year. Policy amount. Because if necessary, we do have projects allocated in the budget that sometimes go over multiple years. Like there's several that we're not going to get to this year just from supply, logistics alone. We can always cut some of those and supplement if we decide to do so.
I guess I'm just thinking on the other end of it, if we do have some unexpected sales tax and then we already have strong water sales, those two.
I think so. One thing if you look on the water sales, I believe we were already at 53% left in the budget already. So March is the 6-month marker, right in the middle. And so that's actually high. So we're well ahead on the water sales. And obviously so it's been dry as can be. And if it continues to be that way, as Joel said, if we average $525,000 a month, we'll easily blow past water sales projected. And we're already on par to blow past sales tax projections because we never estimate those highly. And so sales tax projections this year are up 10% from last year, and last year's was up 10% from the year before, and then vice versa the third year. So we're 30% up from 3 years ago, just about. And Joel and I go back and forth on the sales tax and be extremely conservative because it is volatile. Fund. So that one, I have no doubt that one will exceed. I mean, we just had, I don't even know what the anomaly is, but we have back-to-back $400,000 sales tax months. First time ever. And one of them, I think, was December, and then the other would be January. Is that correct? Which is not, typically people don't spend that kind of money in January. That's what I'm saying.
Well, some of it's construction related.
Some of it can be, yeah, but it's typically not like that. December and January collections are typically not equal, because you always see November, December due to Christmas shopping. But I think those revenues will be on par, if not above.
I will buffer some of what Joe's saying about the utility revenues going up. That will contribute to cash, but we also have significant cash outflows during the summer too. We've got the seal coating project that will be over $500,000, and we do have a new debt service payment that will be due in August for the debt issuance for the land. That's new to us. We haven't had that in August. The principal portion of that will come in August, so that's going to be just under $500,000. On the second part of the report, this is the schedule of secure deposits. This is required in accordance with our investment policy that we report on this. This is the bank balances for all of our accounts, which total just over $10 million as of March 31. And then our depository bank is supposed to pledge securities to secure that. As of March 31, we've got securities pledged having a market value of $17,409,000. So we are adequately secured by pledged securities as of March 31, 2022. That's all I have on the investment report.
I think we should approve the investment report for the city of Canyon as of March 31st.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the investment report. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Okay, our next item is item number 15, to consider and take appropriate action on resolution number 13-2022, resolution of the City Commission of the City of Canyon, Texas, adopting the City of Canyon's comprehensive fund balance and reserve policy. So we got you still at it.
This is my last one. This is a clean copy of the policy that we're presenting here. This isn't a new policy. This is just a annual or semi-annual, I think, review of our comprehensive fund balance and reserve policy. And just to refresh your memory of what this is what drives that report that we just covered. For the fund balance and reserve, our cash position basically explains kind of the background for this and the difference between fund balance and cash reserve. It also kind of talks about the authority of the commission over this, and then also the authority of the city manager to be able to make decisions about excesses of reserve and how we will use those reserves at the end of the year. As Joe was mentioning, if we have excesses, it lists there on page 4 how we can use those reserves. What we did last year is to go ahead and finance some things in the CIP. So this is a good benchmark. It's a good fence for us. It keeps us secure financially. If we can keep our cash reserves at that minimum level, if at all possible, and then any excesses, it provides for an organized way of how to put those excesses into places where that can be most effective and to do that efficiently. It also points out how these are calculated, how the reserve is calculated. So again, the general fund reserve is 25 to 35% of our annual budgeted expenses. The utility reserve is 15 to 25% of the annual budgeted expenses, excluding depreciation, which is a non-cash expense. We didn't change those percentages. Those are the same as what we've been operating with since we first presented this and approved it. I have included in here an explanation of the CIP funds, just stating that we're going to set aside those funds for the projects that we follow through the CIP program, and we'll have that funding available to fund those projects as we get it, unless there are ones that we're going to do specific debt financing with. And then we clarified a little bit, this is one minor change, we clarified a little bit the debt service reserve. We used to try to maintain about 50% of our annual debt service. We really can't do that anymore with the change in the legislature. For the debt service, we can only keep in there what's necessary. Well, we can only set a tax rate that's necessary to finance the debt for that fiscal year. And so they take whatever reserve we've got in here into consideration when calculating that rate. So we'll talk about that more here in the next few weeks, but it's limited on how much we can keep in that reserve. But we try to keep in there at least 6 months of debt service just to be safe. So far, that's not a problem.
That would typically, yearly basis, it would generate between 35 and 50,000 over what our projections were. So they're really kind of coming down on that, which is not a big deal to us, but we won't be able to maintain a fund balance like Mr. Wright said, because on our responses to the tax office, we're having to indicate what fund balances we do have on the INS, the interest and sinking fund, to that. So they take that and calculate it in.
It just lowers what the INS portion of the tax rate is. As I mentioned on the last page, next to last page, there is an updated snapshot of the targeted reserves as of May 31. So we pulled the cash balances last week and put those in here. So whereas we were below, as of March 31, we're actually within the reserve target range as of May 31st. So it's recovered quite a bit.
Joel separated the general and the enterprise CIPs as well.
So in total, where our reserve balance is supposed to be between 4.8 and 7.3 million, we're at 5.4 as of the so I feel a lot better about that than I did in March. Again, there's no significant changes in this. We just kind of clarified the general fund and utility fund separate, and then put the CIPs and the debt service fund totally apart, since those are really outside of these target ranges. Any questions on that policy? That's all I have.
So that's why Joel and I both are working on debt policy. We're knee deep in debt policy. How much debt we have, how much we want to take on, how much is healthy and unhealthy. So we've had one meeting so far, and we've gone through a great draft. But Joel has some metrics that should be coming probably in July. We have one in the second meeting that should finalize the details. But we'll look at our debt aspect too, so that they want to walk through it. That's in our strategic plan.
Negotiating.
Make a motion that we adopt resolution number 13/2022.
Second. Have a motion, second. All in favor of the motion, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that takes us to item number 16. Consider and take appropriate action on the rental agreement for municipal court offices. Chuck.
Thank you, Mayor. There's a memo and a copy of the proposed lease in your agenda packet. As you all know, we have been, and Joe's helped us with this, working on trying to find some additional office space for municipal court. There's just not enough available room in City Hall. That Judge Cates is here tonight, and she's seen the space. We've, quite frankly, located a couple of places that were actually more space than we needed and a little higher than we wanted to pay. So we were fortunate that due to relocation of one of Lucy's tenants, she was able to show us this space, which is directly across the street from the post office and the Wellington State Bank branch. If y'all know where that is, it's on the north side of the street. And there's an insurance agency on the other end, and space is already renovated and able to be occupied. We do need to put exterior doors on the building. We've already talked to Lucy about that. She has no objection to that. Need to put steel doors for security reasons, along with a night rock, so people can deposit envelopes with their fines and payments in there. Applies to individuals with payment plans and people that just need to make a payment on their fine or court costs. So this space we're looking at is about $1,000 a month, plus about 162 interest. You rounded it off, insurance and taxes prorated, rounded it off about $1,200. Rents for $1,250 a square foot, and it's about the right amount of space. And like I say, the office configuration. Judge, would you like to say anything about it?
We're just very excited, so we just can't wait. I think it'll really meet our needs well.
A lot of people will contact the court outside the context of formal in-person hearings and trials, and so we just needed enough room to conduct that business. The judge and the clerk are having to shuffle in and out of one room. If the defendant comes in and wants to tell the clerk their side of the story, the judge can't hear that before trial until the plea's in. And so the judge also conducts virtual court arraignments, magistrations, and tries to make the court available to the public when people are off work and able to take care of that business either virtually or in person. So we've tried to take that into account and be mindful of that. This, in my view, is a good solution to that space problem.
I guess it helps with the separation, or it gives
Separation helps because we've got 3 different offices in that building, and the sound is controlled by doors, so you don't have auditory carryover.
At one point, didn't we have problems with separation from other city offices?
Not
Yes,
necessarily.
we did
just
with
don't have.
with the police department, we did.
Okay.
Yes, previously, when you all were on the police department, Chuck, that
Oh,
wasn't
that
the
was,
best
yeah, that
situation.
was about 5 or 6 years ago,
Yes.
I think, so, yeah.
And security over there is plenty good then, so.
State law requires, court security. Right now, we're working with, part-time police officers, or off-duty police officers, I should say, from Tuya. Looks like, Canyon Police Department is kind of short-handed right now. And so we put the word out, and, of course, that invitation for off-duty work is open to Canyon police officers. But right now, it looks like, I think, isn't that correct, Judge? We've been using Tuya officers?
Yes, sir. Yes. So, yeah, we're looking at further, just maybe some other smaller agencies that would like part-time work.
The security needs have been addressed.
They're gonna probably do some cameras and keypads and all that. So
Right.
on that side of it, Gary, they're working with Sean to get some of those technical needs addressed.
Sean's gonna work with us on that. Also, there will be a computer in the outer office, that will be, secured for the court administrator and the judge, but there will be a computer that people can, use to take care of their court business or participate in remote hearings if they don't have access to a computer. The judge has various remote dockets. I have a prosecutor Zoom docket, once a month. And so we do use remote facilities quite a bit. So if anyone has any questions, we'll be glad to answer them. Our recommendation is to go ahead and approve that. We have a proposed lease agreement that we've tendered to the commission for consideration. The only thing that could change on the amount of money involved in that is if insurance or taxes will vary, there may be a slight adjustment on that. Lucy really does not anticipate any kind of adjustment in the near term on that. We drew it as a 5-year lease. It's subject to annual funding by the commission. We created an addendum to that. It's subject to annual funding by the commission, so the commission will have to annually appropriate money to fund that lease. We also have an option to extend for another 5-year term if we're happy with it at 5 years.
It's probably a fairly economical space for something else.
I would think so. I think it's it's the most beneficial and cost-effective space I've looked at in Canyon. this remodel is ready to go, but we don't have to spend a lot of money.
Currently, Judge Kate's divider is her monitors on her computers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm moving to approve.
Second.
All right, have a motion and a second to approve the rental agreement for municipal court offices. Is there any further discussion?
I would appreciate if the commission would authorize the city manager to execute that on behalf of the city too.
Okay, make that part of the motion. So, good with that? Or did you make?
Yeah, let me do it again. I move that we approve the lease terms in the attached commercial lease agreement and authorize the city manager to sign on behalf of the city.
That second that motion.
All right, motion second. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, that takes us to item number 17, to consider and take appropriate action on meeting dates for June, July, and August 2022. Chris and Joe, please run this.
Rachel, why don't you go ahead and start us, please?
Okay. Generally, on the 4th, it falls on Monday this year, so City Hall will be closed, and that's our first meeting of the month.
In July.
July, sorry. Joe and I have discussed it, and we proposed, he has visited also with Tony, and he likes that maybe we would meet on the 13th.
Yeah, sometime that following week, or just have one meeting in July.
That would include a budget work session, so
Yes.
it would probably start earlier. If things get busy, which usually this is kind of a quiet time of the year, but if things do start piling up, we can always have another meeting. But this way, if people want to go out of town for the 4th of July and interview, it just makes it easier to go ahead and schedule that the week after. And then if you look at July, I'm sorry, that would be July 11th on Monday, not 13th.
Okay.
We do have notes on there about the budget work session on the 5th. If you agree to move that meeting to the 11th, then we'll just do that on the 11th, and it'll just be that meeting there.
Do both of them?
No, just
Some of
the
us.
11th.
We're technically, our meeting's supposed to be July 4th, but we would just do a meeting on July 11th.
And not the
instead.
18th.
And, yes, and not do the 18th.
And we're gonna do the budget workshop also on the 11th?
Correct.
So what time does it start?
At least right now, 2:30, that's 2 hours right now. This will be our first annual work session on the budget.
Will
And
that work?
we do have another budget work session next meeting in June, but that's solely on the capital improvement program.
I'm sorry, I misspoke. That was July 11th. We would only meet July 11th, so we'd be closed on the 4th. And then only if necessary, we would hold a second meeting in July. But we would give you ample notice on that.
Yeah, that's really busy personally for the commission. We just wanted to visit with y'all on this and get some ideas on y'all's existing travel plans or potential travel plans to see if these would work. Right now, finance and management only have one annual budget work session for the budget. If y'all do want a second one, we are more than happy to schedule that in July or in August.
Could we bump the 11th to the 18th because of what I talked to you about earlier?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know that I'm gonna be available.
Yeah, or we can do it, anytime that week of the 11th. It doesn't have to be on our typical Monday meeting day.
So 12, better, is it?
No, we can.
Okay.
I mean, you guys do me want to 18th.
Did Cody talk about the 18th?
We didn't, he didn't sound like there was gonna be any major issues with that, though.
You could just plan on it.
Yep.
Would that be good enough on your timeline, Bo?
Yes. Mr. Mayor?
I'm good with 18th. I had issues with that week of the 4th through the 10th, so.
We could just cancel the meeting on the 4th technically, and then just keeping our meeting on the 18th, and then throwing our annual work session, probably starting at 2 or 2:30.
Is that good?
That works for me.
We will hopefully get budget numbers out to y'all in the next week and a half, I think is what we said. Next week, more than likely. And so it will be the untouched budget, as I always promise. I won't cut anything until I send it to you guys, and then we'll start moving towards the proposed budget. So hopefully we'll give y'all plenty of time to review that, but also to be able to have conversations with staff. Do y'all want to have a second annual budget work session at this point in time?
I think it'd be good to have a date plugged in just in case.
As a backup?
Needed that at times in the past.
We could plan on August 1st, just starting an hour early.
On August 1st? We could definitely do that. We're technically adopting that on August
No.
1st.
Yeah.
We're actually adopting the budget on August 1st.
On August 1st?
Yes, August 1st is the budget adoption, and the tax rate adoption's on August 15th. So it'll be a pretty tight window to do that.
Well, what if we just plug in optional on the 25th, and if we don't need it, we don't need it. So.
And we would hopefully get appraisals that day. If you can see, that's the legal timeline of appraisals are due. And there will be some change, there always is, between the preliminaries that I've sent out to you all on that day. So we might be able to have those available at the meeting. Or we could just do a work session. That would be, Mr. Mayor, if that's what your thoughts are.
Would that work, plug that in just an optional day,
What time?
We could, I think with you having that long budget meeting on the 18th, it would just be filling, it should not, in my opinion.
Yeah, that should go.
If we plugged in at 4:30 time or so.
It has to be earlier, it's on the 25th.
What time's good?
So I need to be out by,
Could we do a morning budget meeting?
Yeah, maybe do breakfast. Do breakfast.
Paul likes breakfast.
Oh,
Make that motion.
You got excited.
They could do a breakfast, a budget breakfast, there you go, the BB, the budget breakfast.
With bus.
That would work.
Yeah, bus, we could do bus, budget breakfast.
And that's not set, that's if you decide
We
you
might not
don't
need
want
that.
that.
Yeah, and I think y'all will make that motion on the 18th to schedule it or not. That should give city management and finance enough time to get things worked back to you.
If we do that, we can start at 8:30, 9.
Yeah, I think that'd be good.
Is that okay?
Commission, does the rest of y'all, are y'all good 8:30 or 9 on the,
I'd probably prefer an 8:30 or.
Okay.
you're bringing the coffee up.
Okay, I'll make it. It's not gonna be $9.
Okay, 25th is our optional meeting. Just a reminder, budget adoptions on August 1st and tax rate adoptions on August 15th. And then the budget's over, so we're a whole month change from last year to fit the timeline. On this timeline, you will be able to adopt the tax rate of what you desire. We won't be locked in. Obviously, you can't go over the de minimis rate if you decide. I assume we're going to have lots of conversations about that. We will have the budget filed on July 1st, Friday, July 1st. That's when we will have the budget filed with the city secretary's office. That's by local government code.
Very good with those.
Good with that.
Thank you.
All right, our next is a neat deal. We get to recognize our own Gretchen Mercer for the Texas Municipal Clerk's Office Achievement of Excellence Award. Joe? Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In all that we do, we strive for excellence in all areas, from municipal clerk to public works to law enforcement, everything. It should not be remiss that we recognize our own City Secretary, Gretchen Mercer, for this astounding and amazing accomplishment. To say the least, Gretchen takes her commitment to this organization and our community very seriously. These bullet points, as you can see in our agenda memo, is hard in and of itself to be 100% on those. She has worked over years of time to gain the knowledge, but also the skills to meet these guidelines. If you can see the statistic above, there are 783 Texas Municipal Clerks Association members. Of those, only 38 are awarded this high honor. But in order to receive this, all 12 standards below, from records management, Open Meetings Act, professional development, boards, commissions, government transparency, clerk's office policies, procedures, elections, other areas, awards, recognitions, innovations, streamline, public information, and training. That's a quite healthy list for a staff of one. But nonetheless, I thought it was high enough honor that we recognized Gretchen Mercer. It was a great accomplishment for her and this wonderful community.
Do we have a photo op opportunity there too?
My certificate has, they frame a certificate, and it's not here yet.
Okay.
So-
All right. Well, we should get that one. because-
Keep it on those two.
Yep, we'll put it on the
Keep it on those two.
Oh, yeah.
We'll put it on the agenda again. Well, congratulations. Well done.
We're very proud of you, Gretchen. The city staff is very proud of your efforts in making this organization so great. Thank you.
I love working here, I love Canyon, love everything about it, so I'm grateful for the opportunity. And I do take it very serious. In my heart.
We appreciate you. Okay, that takes us now to executive session pursuant to 551.071, consultation with attorney, 551.072, deliberations about real property, 551.076, deliberation regarding security devices or security audits, and 551.074 for board appointments and rural area public. And with that, I have 5:41, and we will retire into exec session.
One quick question. When we do get the budget ready,
Sure. I'll let her before you cut that phone. Don't worry. I couldn't even think of anything. I got I'm sure I will. I blacked out for a minute. I'm not real sure what I said. I thought I saw you.